Hello, my name is Stacy Couch, and this is my beautiful backyard in southwest Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. It's a lovely, partly cloudy summer day. We're coming up on the summer solstice, and we're really fortunate to still have a lot of rain, so the ground and all the leaves are still wet this morning, which is really lovely. I can feel the humidity in the air, which is really odd for this time of year. So thank you very much for joining me. And I just decided to start doing videos because I love to write. That doesn't make much sense, but I spend a lot of time on the computer, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to express my creativity in that way. But I also wanted a chance to get outside and to continue to deliver information and knowledge to you so that you can have a better understanding of shamanism and spirit animals and archetypes, and I'll be talking about all sorts of different topics in these videos. Today I would like to dive into a discussion about soul retrieval. Even before we get to soul retrieval, there's the piece of soul loss. I often don't get as much time as I would like to talk with folks about soul loss and how it works, because there's so many facets to it, and I don't want to overwhelm people in the start, because it can be a pretty straightforward, intuitive concept. Well, yeah, parts of myself are leaving because of trauma. Yes, I do feel like I lost part of myself in that experience. It's very obvious in that way, but there's nuances and complexities to it that come in when we start to ask questions about what is soul loss and how does soul loss happen. So I really wanted to dive into that today for those of you that are either familiar with soul retrieval or new to it. That I think that all of you will be able to get something out of this conversation. I think there's a lot of questions in people's minds when we start to talk about soul loss and we start to talk about soul retrieval, but they don't even know how to form the questions, but I can hear the question in the background. And so I'm going to try to address some of those. And the first one, I think, is there's really no way to prioritize it all, but the first one that really comes to mind right now is, how extreme does the trauma need to be for soul loss to happen, for part of us to split off, part of our essence, part of our being to split off into the unconscious, or in the shamanic view, into other worlds? That really depends on the person. It's a very personal thing. Soul loss is a universal experience, but what causes soul loss, I think, is a very personal thing. For some people, being made fun of in front of a crowd is par for the course. They maybe grew up with some rowdy siblings, and it was common for them to just tease back and forth, and they've developed what they call a tough skin. And so it's no big deal for them to have somebody tease them in front of a group of people. No big deal at all. Somebody else who may be an only child or may have grown up with a very polite family who's very respectful of each other and didn't tease or make jokes, they might not deal with being teased or harassed in front of a group of people very well at all. Maybe the slightest, smallest thing could be an offense for them and could cause soul loss. And it also varies with age. So when we're young, we have a lot less power to get ourselves out of situations. We live in this world of adults that any adult at any time has more power than we do. And so we often have, it seems like soul loss happen with less extreme events, if that makes sense. If less... For an adult, it would be something that's not so big of an issue, but for a child, it's a very big issue. So that also comes into play, age and experience and wisdom and self-esteem. As we build our self-esteem and our independence and our understanding, our experience in the world, we are less likely to have a small offense cause soul loss for us. But we also have certain woundings that build over time. So we have the trigger points, as a lot of people talk about, that can really be a place as an adult that a trigger for one person will not be for another person. So that's where the personal part of this comes in. Soul loss is impersonal. What causes soul loss, or the extremity of it, is very personal for each and every one of us. There's that piece. So I always love to give the example of when I was a child, I was deathly afraid of spiders. And I don't know where it came from. I almost think I came into this life with it. It was almost before I could even talk. My parents tell stories of me sitting in a high chair and pointing across the room and crying, "Spidey, Spidey." Just deathly afraid of a spider this big on the other side of the room. They found it comical. For me, it was very traumatic. And of course, we see a lot of spiders in our lives too. So it was kind of an ongoing thing for me. And it wasn't until adulthood that I had the opportunity to start working through that. I went on a shamanic journey at one point and came to this place in the journey where I encountered a spider that was the size of a house, like literally the size of a house. And that is the first time and the only time so far that I left a journey, that I was like, okay, thanks, see you later, I can't do this. And when I got back, I had to go back into my values of that no animal is any more powerful than another, that there is no such thing as a bad power animal. And I turned myself around and I went back into the journey and came face to face with the spider and befriended it, actually, which shifted that phobia for me. I don't have it anymore now. So now when I see a spider, no trauma, where it was different when I was a child. If somebody would have dropped a spider on me or put my hand in a bucket of spiders, that would have been soul loss for sure. So there's the piece of extremity. So how intense is the experience? How intense do we experience the trauma? So outwardly, it could look very intense or not, but it really depends on how we experience it internally. How does it feel for us? There's also the idea of repetition. So if things happen over and over and over again, the same thing happens over and over and over again, that can cause soul loss. It also can be a symptom of soul loss, which makes things a little confusing. And that brings me into another piece of soul loss and how it operates. We love to look for the reason for things. We love to know why things happen as they do. And with soul loss, we get in this situation of, was it the chicken or was it the egg? That's really just cliche, but the best example or best way I can think to explain it for you. And what that means is this a symptom of soul loss that I'm dealing with, or is this the cause of soul loss? So when, say, for example, someone finds herself in a series of experiences over and over and again, over and over and over again, where she is teased in front of a group of people. And she makes mistakes in front of groups of people. She can't seem to help herself from doing that. That can very much be a symptom of soul loss, but it also can be something that causes soul loss. Is there something originally at the beginning of the path that caused that, of a particular incident where she lost her power, her ability to really protect herself from being teased in front of a group of people, and then since she didn't have that power there, it happened over and over and over again? Or did it just so happen that the universe sent her this series of experiences over and over and over again, and she eventually came to a place where she just felt powerless and part of her soul left? It's chicken or the egg. And you can really evaluate that anywhere you go, any part of soul loss that you look at, any expression of it that you view, you can see this chicken or the egg situation. The thing I love about that is it's kind of a trick and it's a good trick. It breaks the illusion that we can actually find the source of our trauma, our wound, and takes us out of this fact-finding detective mission that we think we need to go on to heal. It's not necessary. It's important to have compassion for that part of ourselves that went through that experience. It's important to learn forgiveness of the people that may have caused us harm. It's important to know the experience means that we can release the experience. So all of that, yes, is very important, but to continue to go on this mission where we need to blame somebody or blame ourselves or blame the circumstances and so that we can maybe prevent it from happening again in the future is fruitless, really, and futile is the better word. So we end up in this constant detective mode rather than healing mode. And so with soul loss, and when we really get into the depths of how it works, there is never a final answer. There's never a final person to blame. It's all interconnected. Time loops around. There's no straight linear timeline that we work on. And that's the genius of it, really, when we start to dig into the theory of soul loss. So why do these parts leave? They can't stay in the experience. So it becomes too much for them. It's incongruent is really a good way to look at it. We have this experience I'm just going to use the same example because it just is providing a thread through this discussion. We have this person who's being teased, but she feels like she's in a situation where she cannot speak up or speak out for herself, that she'll make herself look bad if she starts to defend herself. She doesn't want to go into being defensive or angry. She wants to present a peaceful, calm front. And there's this piece of her that is a strong, powerful. That's the other piece too, is we think of soul parts, well, they left because they're weak, right? No, they left because the situation, they could not stay in the situation. The situation was not congruent with who they are. That's it. That's simply it. And they're actually powerful, gifted, skillful pieces of our soul, timeless pieces of our soul that exist before we are in this life and exist after we are out of this life. And it just so happens that when we're in this situation where we feel like we shouldn't speak up, it's not proper, whatever, and we don't speak up, this piece of us that is empowered to speak up in a centered and grounded way, that knows that that is a possibility, cannot stay in that situation because the belief that we have and that we're acting out during the experience is that it's not okay to speak out. It may not be safe to speak out depending on the situation, but regardless, our reputation might be at risk. And that belief is not in congruence with the knowing that we can speak out in a safe way without harming others and also without harming ourselves. And that piece can't stay in the middle of the situation with this belief that's being carried out. So that's why soul parts leave. And that's just one example. I could give you thousands, but hopefully that helps. So clearly I have a lot that I would like to share with you about this topic, but I'm going to leave it there for now because I think you have plenty to mull over. The idea of is it a symptom or the source of soul loss? The idea that we probably never really will find the source, and you might want to spend some time thinking about how much of a detective am I in my healing process, and am I looking for somebody to blame? Those are both really good questions to sit with in the coming days. So thank you very much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to next time. I'm going to talk about the 4 energetic bodies that we reside in and how soul loss occurs on each of those levels and how it either trickles down or weaves through our experience. And this really, I think it'll be good for you to have even a better understanding of how soul loss works, because knowledge is power, right? And that'll help us feel more empowered in our healing process, I believe. So thank you so much for joining me. My website, as always, is wildgratitude.com. I would love if you feel inclined to leave a message below this video, or you can always email me at info@wildgratitude.com. I so look forward to hearing from you and speaking with you again soon. Thanks so much. Have a lovely day.